Hey there, this is my quick and simple new player guide for Warframe. If you find this helpful, make sure to subscribe, it really helps me. And if you're looking for more personalized help, resources, or guides, check out my Discord server in the description. I'd be happy to help you with any questions you have. So, if you're new and you're just getting into Warframe, you need to know that it's a super complicated game. I'll frequently tell people that you need the wiki up on a second monitor just to play. But don't get discouraged, as there's a lot of simple stuff you can do at the start of the game to really set yourself up for success. I'm going to go through the most effective methods to become strong, as well as answer some common questions I get. The very easiest thing you can do to progress throughout the early game is focus on the junctions. The game has a tendency to flood you with a lot of random quests, and instead of trying to figure out which ones are important or not, make your goal to get to Sedna, which is the last planet. On each planet, you'll find junctions that you need to beat to unlock the next planet, and each of them will have a couple of requirements. As you can see here, the Venus Junction requires you to complete the Vor's Prize and Saya's Vigil quests, along with ranking up a mod. Once you do all of that, defeat the Guardian Spectre at the junction. Then, simply repeat these steps for the rest of the planets, unlocking them all. As you do this, you'll naturally progress in the story and complete all of the required quests, and you can go back and do the side quests whenever you want. A lot of people will ask me how to get credits early game, and the real answer is that there's not really an effective way to farm credits until you get further. There are some good blueprints for weapons that you can purchase for credits in the dojo and market, and modding does cost a little bit, but for the most part, you're not going to desperately need a lot of them unless you're trying to craft an overwhelming amount of weapons or items. If that's the case, I'd suggest prioritizing the story and progressing, as every single mission is going to give you credits for completing it. So don't worry about credits too much and just focus on doing that, as it'll typically be good enough. However, there's a couple of options you have early game for earning credits, like Dark Sector excavation missions, which can be found on Tikal on Earth, Cholistan on Europa, and Hierarchon on Pluto. Additionally, once you have your Railjack, any Railjack mission is usually pretty good for credits as well. The first real credit farm you can unlock is the Index on Neptune, where you can invest credits to fight in an arena. If you win, you'll get more credits back. There's a common misconception that the level of your Warframe and weapons is correlated to your game progress or how strong you are, and that increasing your mastery rank is super duper important. And while to an extent leveling up your gear does make you stronger, it's not really as important as you think it is early game. Everything can only be leveled up to rank 30, so there's not really a rush to get there. I'd suggest just playing through the game's content and progressing through the story, and you'll likely get to that level in no time. If you don't want to wait though, there's a few things that you can do in the meantime. The primary method I use to level up my Warframes is Sanctuary Onslaught, which is a game mode that will show up here in navigation after you've completed the new Strange quest. You can start this quest by going to your codex after completing the Europa Junction. If you don't have that unlocked, typically any defense mission is preferred. The more teammates you have, the more affinity you'll be gaining, and make sure that whenever you're farming for levels that you stay near other players because affinity is shared between all nearby players. Tons of people start the game or are getting back into the game, and they ask me what the best Warframer weapon is for them to get. And my answer is always the same, in that for the majority of the game, every single Warframe weapon is viable. In my opinion, you should look through the codex and find the one that calls to you the most and go for it. Playing whatever you think is fun is going to be more than good enough to beat all of the game's content. Here's the thing though, people will always complain that their gear feels too weak and that they think they need a new warframe or weapon to compensate. The reality is that the most important part of your build is always going to be your mods. There's no 100% foolproof method to mod for every single warframe or weapon. Typically, for warframes early game, you're going to want some kind of defensive mods like additional health or shields, and you'll also want to increase the effectiveness of your abilities by throwing in mods to buff your duration, range, and ability strength. As for weapons, early game, you want to put in as much damage as possible. Mods that add elemental damage to your weapon are great, critical chance and critical damage are also important. For all mods, increasing their level is going to directly and linearly increase how strong you are. Mods do get more costly as you rank them up, but the bonuses stay the same. So, I'd highly suggest that you rank up all of your mods a few levels at a time in a well-rounded manner, and absolutely do not try to level up one mod all the way to max immediately. If you want a more advanced building guide, you can check out my Steel Path guide in the top right corner now. Anyway, that's all for now. If you have any thoughts or comments, leave them below. I read and try to respond to everything. Have a great day.